What's up with your favorite tag team of Billy, the Street Profits? Which do you like better, the Street Profits or New Day? Who's one and who's two to you?
Oh God. With the New Day, I think at least it worked for a little while. Street Profits haven't really worked since they came over from NXT. Obviously, we had the pandemic and whatnot, but
well, worked for you, I would say, because they're over.
What,
with the majority. Yeah, I think the majority of people. I don't hear boos unless they pipe out them, but I don't ever hear them like getting trashed.
No, this is not the feeling in the company. The feeling, like, I mean, a lot of this is done down to the responses they hear on a night-to-night basis and merchandise sales. The merchandise sales list was released. It normally gets released with the quarterly, so at least there's more emphasis on it. I mean, they have an existing list that runs throughout the year, so they always know who did what on a week-to-week because they need to establish everything for payouts. But the quarterly merchandise list is the most interesting because it turns around and says this is number 1 to 10 for the quarter, and it can be it can be something that results in pushes or de-pushes, etc. I mean, the Bliss stuff with the Lily stuff and everything was very poor. Bianca stuff was poor ever since the push between WrestleMania and now, which has resulted in a subsequent de-push. The Street Profits have always been bad. They've never been at the level of the New Day. And the company have now decided that the direction they'll go in with these guys is that they're either going to turn them heel or they'll turn them heel and then separate them, or just separate them altogether, because Montez Ford is seen as the star here in the group.
I agree.
Montez Ford is a guy who has more charisma. Montez Ford is a guy that's got more independent experience working with other guys here on the roster already, and is seen as a guy that will break out. So depending on whether they want to rush off to that Montez Ford breakout, which would see one of the guys going heel and splitting and doing the split, or whether you do a hero run and then split them on each other, at some point, inevitably, this team are going to break up. So look for that. Don't know how long it's going to be. I'm sure there'll be comments when this doesn't happen in the next 2 weeks. But it's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks.
Billy's a liar. It didn't happen 2 minutes after he told us. It didn't happen on the next Raw. You know what's funny is that I was actually thinking that this week for no reason at all. In my head was, what would they do? And I think I was thinking of Otis and what they've done with him since, getting out of his tag team Heavy Machinery. And just, Mr. Personality is not being used for personality at all. But I keep thinking, like, Dawkins, is he going to be able to do much when he is out of this? Because Montez, you see Mr. Personality, and the guy's an athlete like crazy. He's diving over the turnbuckle, post and doing flips and stuff. So he'll be fine. He's had fine matches and all that kind of stuff. And he could talk. I don't think Dawkins is bad on the microphone, but I don't think he's at the level of Montez. But do you think he's just going to be lost at that point? He's going to turn into Tucker?
Well, with the way that they're releasing people like that, I don't think that's a good thing for him, that this team's going to break up. So I think what is a good thing for him is the limited number of African Americans that have been released in the last 12 months.
I think that kind of saves him, so the company won't feel like the company will think twice before releasing a black guy, because they've released too many, and they would say, we don't want anybody to say this is why we're releasing.
They've barely released any. I mean, B-Fab went on the last set of releases, but there haven't really been that many. And Ember Moon went as well, but that was a case of Ember Moon going back to NXT on a main roster contract. And when you've already received that pay rise and gone backwards, they want you to come back as quick as they can. If there's no way to come back to SmackDown or Raw and there's nothing there for you, then you'll end up getting released. They're not going to pay you that main roster money to sit on NXT. That was the thing with rushing Finn Balor back as quickly as you could. Whereas, like, he was happy to do the NXT thing. It's like, yeah, dude, but you've got a $750,000 contract, so you need to be working on the main roster for this. And that's the thing. Once Ember Moon is getting paid what she got paid, her release was inevitable. So there was a period where they just weren't releasing black people, and we saw the heavier emphasis on black people on TV, which is fine, because for years they were ignored and all booked and typecast in the same way. But then we saw, like, round about WrestleMania time, and we even joke about it in our group chat with Umar, who's a who's another black guy, by the way. Yeah, like what's going on here? You must be really happy with the fact that all of these black guys are being more pushed, whether they have talent or not talent, because that seemed like the case. There were some guys that, to me, Bianca Belair wasn't overwhelmingly talented in all areas. I thought she's good athletically, but I think her mic work sucks. And I think that her promo delivery sucks as well in terms of
I think it's very stereotypical. No girl, all that stuff. I think that's, she's playing into it, of course.
Yeah.